Hello everyone. Welcome to Sound Dialogues. And this is Tanya Lesyk. And please welcome my new guest tonight. I'm really thrilled having you with us tonight. Lina, thank you so much for accepting my invitation. And to start off, tell us your story.
Hi, thanks for having me here. I'm happy and thanks for your invitation. Okay, first of all, I'm Tanya's friend, so that's like it doesn't need an intro, but in fact, we know each other like for like since
For
we're
ages.
is big, like we know each other forever because we know each other from music school, and then we were like in the same school, like the normal school, but like year younger, year older. And then like our paths didn't cross to be crossed in London in 154 Hornback Avenue
Oh,
on the
yes.
way to the bathroom.
Yes, exactly. The story is that we've known each other basically since our childhood, but then we kind of drifted apart, and then accidentally we met in London, where I went to study, and Lina also had already been studying at the same time. So it was just accidental. I kind of knew Lina was there, but when it turned out that she lives next door to me, this was one of the biggest surprises and the most pleasant ones because since then we've been in touch and friends and we've even worked together, right?
uh, Kind of on and off. But the funny story was that it's also like it's kind of when we started to compare our road to London, like
Oh, yeah, we have.
the paving of the roads to London, that was quite similar in a way, but fun, stressful, but we ended up there at the end.
Yeah, yeah.
So
True, true. We
yeah,
had a lot of similarities and this made us even closer. That's true.
yeah. So
Yeah.
that was
So Lina is my friend. And could you tell us if you have anything to do with English language? Are you a teacher? Are you not a teacher?
well, I'm kind of like I have this imposter syndrome because I kind of would like to
Ah,
call myself a teacher. No, I've got the certificate, so I take the box. But no, I'm not the teacher. The English kind of started off as like for many kids. You know, I had an amazing teacher at school, and at the time, like all this kind of Grace of reality, she was just this amazing, enthusiastic young lady who was in love with kids, who was in love with language. She loved what she did, and I guess it projected to us and kind of and everything and she dressed really well and she was like really bright. It's just like all this enthusiasm about her. So I guess it's kind of such a big deal if you have someone like that to kind of get you started. And like, oh my God, I want to be like her. I just want to travel the world. And it's like, yeah, but I need to get English. And I remember like the first year when we started having like English classes when, 10 something, I kind of started to do like my little things. My mom kind of came across that that notebook with like all the like
oh,
translation of English words. I mean, it's like and all the pictures, and it's kind of I remember doing it. So there was kind of like a little, yeah, that was like, that
something.
was my first teacher. So yeah, Helena Dream. If you
Oh,
watch this, if you watch this cast, like hello to you because I still remember you're an amazing woman and a great teacher. And yeah, thanks for everything you've done because that's how my road to London came. And I mean, in my wildest dream would I ever imagine myself being in London, but somehow it was also like very random because I got to the university foreign languages department, applied linguistics, which was very cool at the time. And I'd like sometimes now like really regret that I didn't kind of pursue this thing, but no one knew of Google at the time and semantics and all
yeah,
this the social media and all the things that we have today and search engines. But yeah,
absolutely. Yeah.
it was what 1993, but never mind.
Yeah,
So
but you
then
got apart. Yeah.
19 yeah, so 1994 end up like from west of Ukraine, Wallen State University and Fulham, London. And because a friend of my father's, his daughter, she was traveling to London because she was Polish, so it was much easier in terms of everything, just to go and to no visa situation, none
Yeah.
of those shenanigans. So, and she came to London like 1 week before me, and then I've joined in, and then like we end up in Fulham Road, London Study Centre to improve our English, of course. Ah, and the first phone call, I remember being petrified, absolutely scared, like just like the phone rings, and it's like we were living in this like big house, like full of people, like sharing with like thousands of people. The phone rings in the morning, and like because of course you come to London, you look for a job because you need to do something.
Yeah.
Oh, it may be someone like calling me because yeah, I've made a few applications here, there,
I
everywhere,
left
but
the number.
oh,
Yeah.
and then it's like the moment of truth. Hello. And then you're waiting, like trying to figure out what this person's going to say. And I remember for me, like many people say, like all this Leicester, Gloucester, because the guy was calling me and telling me, like, oh, you need to go to Gloucester Road.
Uh-huh.
And then I'm checking out District Line. No way, no way. There's Gloucester Road, but there's
But
not
not
Gloucester
Gloucester.
Road.
This
But
remote
yeah, so that was like literally my first week in London, and that was like the Gloucester Road and like Leicester Square
Leicester
and
Square. Yeah.
just so. But that's for me that was true because and anyhow like for me it was all like it's all like all those blurred kind of memories because it was so much. It's so much to take in. It was like if everything was so new, like the new language, and it's kind of like I felt like quite cocky,
Mm.
like you get into the like passport control. That's kind of the first introduction, like pretty
Yeah.
much like real English. Oh yeah, name, what do you do? And you kind of, oh, my name is blah blah blah, and kind of like, yeah,
London
I'm
is the
Betty Smith.
capital of
All
Great
of those
Britain.
like
Yeah.
all those cliches that kind of my generation like all
Yeah.
known Betty Smith and Lena Stogov and
And
all
then
that.
you come across the real English. Yeah.
And then like yeah, and then the phone rings and it's like, ooh.
Yeah.
And then
Actually,
I guess
talking on the
and
phone was
I
horrible.
yeah, because I kind of like, you prepare also like big shock of my life. You get to this, like you get admitted to this school like you did. I mean, we kind of had like we followed very similar kind of scenario. So you need to do the test. And of course, I mean, like, yeah, I've graduated from school with the golden medal and test stress. Happy days. You get there and suddenly it's written. And I think like one of the biggest shocks, like for me, because then like going through the university there, it's like everything is written. And it's like there's no way. I mean, you can't just bluff your way through. No chance. You
Exactly. It's
just
not
need
a tick the
no,
box, choose one
exactly.
out of four. You have to
Like
write and be able to explain and be able to defend your answer. Yeah.
totally. Plus, or even if it's a multiple choice, I mean,
Yeah.
like not being prepared because, like, I think I was the first lot when all the testing kind of was introduced, and it was a lot of like, people, teachers didn't like wanted kids to get good marks. There was a lot of helping about, like,
Yeah, 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 yeah.
you know, tidying it up, brushing it up, and making it like look great and fantastic for statistics. But then it's not preparedness because it's just a completely different like
Yeah.
it's a completely different paradigm like you operate in. It's like it's a different way to approach things. And it's like, okay, later, like after in the university, my statistics teacher told me that like if you don't know the answer, or if there's a choice between something and B, go for B, because statistics says that the chances is going to be B. So like religiously no.
A
But
good piece of
yeah,
advice.
yeah, totally. I mean, the best piece of advice I got like from my university years. But yeah, so it was really big shock because the way even like a simple thing like multiple choice filling the gaps.
Yeah, well, you have to feel the language and you have to be
Yeah,
knowledgeable and you have to have read enough to be able to actually fill anything
yeah.
in.
I remember there was something like something very, very like basic, like I'm used to
Mhm.
something. And I'm like, and there are three choices. And then you start questioning yourself.
Yes,
You
exactly.
kind of like, oh,
Adapt yourself.
but this, it's kind of like, no, just go with your instinct, like go with what you know, because this it's done for that. This is exactly kind of the purpose
Yeah, when
of the
you
whole.
feel the language, yeah.
But yeah, so that's kind of, and of course, I got into just to finish the story because so I've done this test and I'm feeling like, suddenly it's just like from here, ooh, there was a wet blanket. And then the lady was, oh, this is like upper intermediate. I'm like, is it good? Is it bad? I have no clue what that is, And then obviously, like again, so you don't know what to expect because it's like, yeah, I mean, it's an English school in London. Of course, you go to your class and just like people from all over the world. And like, okay, yeah, you get the teacher who speaks like the posh accent, if you're lucky,
Yeah.
because my teacher was from up somewhere north. So it was like lots of lovely and like
And
all the
Booth.
northern,
Yeah.
oh yeah, all the
Just
northern accent. But then there was like just like this variety of people like from all over. And
with various
suddenly it's
accents.
like you pick up the French accent, you pick up a Polish accent, and it's like, oh my God, like, what is this?
Yeah.
But basically, that's what it is. And it's like, yeah, all the explanations, there's no teacher to tell you, like, oh, yeah, present perfect continuous is formed like this. No, it's like another show because obviously we are so much like fueled by all of this, like, oh, grammar, grammar, grammar.
Hmm.
No one cares about grammar. It's like the idea is just to get you going. The
Yeah.
idea is like to speak, to communicate. It's like I try to get you something. And if that's kind of you got the message, even if I don't know, like showing the hands or whatever, mimicking it, you name it. But that's the whole point
But
because
the
when
communication happens, yes.
yeah, exactly. Communication happens. So, I
Yeah.
mean, it's like there was a lot of like shocks in terms of like, and of course, I mean, like I had to pinch myself. But like, yeah, I'm here, like walking Fulham Road, blah, blah, blah,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, it's true that there are people who do pick up the accents. I remember when we worked with Nick, I started picking up on the South African accent.
Was that the African
Yes,
accent?
yes,
Like, yeah.
yes.
And
Uh,
I remember Belinda. It's
yeah,
like it's this other colleague of mine. And I think I was kind of trying to analyze it because we were kind of like, oh yeah, oh darling, in the morning,
it was also
like
South
before
African.
everybody,
That's for you guys to
yeah.
understand.
But then we were like, oh darling, like everybody like goes like to make the round of tea and like, oh, would you like a cuppa? And trying to put on this kind of like
Gosh.
accent. And I think we never, because I think, you know, if kind of there was a second chance kind to repeat like this the process like this learning kind of
Hmm.
experience what they never teach us it's like to kind of to act to get into that mode where they like you kind of like I don't know like you
To
you,
live
you
the
pretend
language.
to be someone you are not but I think it helps so much to pick up on the right accent it
Hmm.
just
Hmm.
like yeah basically like the shadowing
Yeah.
but somehow we never I think that's kind of fundamental because you don't try to teach it your way or like yeah first I mean oh my god like yeah really like why
Yeah.
the
Do
way
you
we
know?
were taught certain things
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I know I still have students who tell me they actually complain that they've always been taught to say nurse vowel sound as like physically.
yeah
So, and now it's a big trouble for them because it's now a fossilized mistake and it takes forever to get changed
it
to
is it's
yeah.
just safe
Um,
I mean it's
by
like
the do you know that it's been proven that when we speak another language, psychologically we perceive ourselves as another person, as another
Oh,
personality.
totally. Oh, totally. It's like
Yeah,
a different persona.
this is why in psychology they even use this trick, if I may say so. When a person, for example, has had some nasty experiences and cannot talk about them in her or his mother tongue, uh, and if the person obviously knows another language, they can practice talking about this in another language, and that's when the person kind of looks at himself or herself from the side, and can actually discuss this. So things, get off their chest. So it works in psychology for sure. Like whatever you were saying, that we are learning to act and we feel as a different personality when we speak another language. So yes, it fits and it's been proven.
But of course, because also like there was some point, and I was like really interested because I mean it was before like I had my own kid, and there was this lady. She was Peruvian, and her husband was American. They lived in London, so kids were like and she because there was like there's this concept of third culture kid, which basically is my kid now because I'm Ukrainian. My husband
We'll
is
get we'll
Italian.
we'll we'll get to
Yeah,
that.
we live in this third culture, and there was like a moment where we were discussing kind of. She's like, "Oh yeah, there's this concept of like third culture kids," and I like, "Oh, explain to me." And then of course it's like the culture, but she's like, "Oh, some of the things I can relate to," because she said like whenever I'm really angry, I start like I because she grew up. She was like like her father was a diplomat, so basically she grew up and like in the UK, so she had a perfect accent, like kind of went to like one of the top schools, and she's like, but I've noticed like whenever I'm super angry, I switch to Spanish because I just need to. It's like there's kind of it's a
The
different me that
strength
needs to
is
come out
different.
my chest. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, I
Um,
guess.
which accent do you find the most difficult to understand? I mean, among the accents present in the UK in English.
I don't know. I mean, like, because many people say like Scottish,
Yeah.
but I had the Scottish boss, and it's like for me, like, I don't know.
But how long did it take you to start understanding him?
But then I guess because I was like, it's been such a long way that like I've been living like then your ear gets trained. But I don't know. I really find complicated the Franglish.
Mhm.
When French people in Luxembourg try to pretend that they speak English, oh, it's tough. I mean, I don't mind the accent, but sometimes it's like it's especially like when it's like because there's a lot of like kind of training, social
Mhm,
functions, and obviously like French being like still kind of very much the language for work and like
mhm, mhm.
all the documentation and everything. But oof, it's
Yeah,
not easy. It's an experience.
yeah, you
And
probably
again, I mean, I am a big fan of like all the regional accents. I don't mind because I always kind of like try to say, what
figure
like
out. Yeah, yeah,
to,
yeah.
to figure out what could that be. But yeah,
Mhm.
but
Yeah, but talking about the difficulty of understanding, this is what I, as a phonetician, try to kind of preach. I don't
mm,
teach my students to want to have a perfect accent. I always ask them to be intelligible, to learn as much as they feel comfortable with, and so that people
yeah,
understand them, so that they are understandable. Yeah, that's it.
yeah,
That's where,
yeah,
it's enough, then you stop. But at least you're not creating any troubles. For example, at a
yeah.
Zoom call with your colleagues and people don't understand you, that's a trouble. Yeah. So you have to be understandable. How many languages do you know? How many languages can you speak?
I mean, like a few, but I mean, some are better, some are worse. Because like,
Yeah,
yeah, like Ukrainian, obviously, and then like I picked some Polish, like to the like. I don't write in it, but I speak well.
mhm,
Less so now because I just don't have any Polish friends. Then okay, Russian because we had to. English, it happened. Italian, like yeah, because. it for family reasons, and now I have to use it at work. Surprise!
Yeah.
You know, would I ever thought that like I would have to speak Italian at work? French is like it's not great, but I'm trying. But it's kind of like for the last 20 years, it's like at the same level. Luxembourgish, I had to do nationality to get the nationality, you need to do the like B2 level. So
So
I
it's
kind
already
of
six, Luxembourgish it's seven, and
I
Deutsch.
don't speak it kind of like my son speaks it, so I kind
Mhm.
of like it would
So
be
it's
cool to
at
understand it.
least six, and you used to study German, so you remember the basics, perhaps.
I mean, now I have to because again for the homeworks, it's just like
Oh, yes, homework.
you just kind of like you think like, oh, I don't ever have to go back to that because it just like I
Oh,
know
no, you
in
go to
face
school the
like
second time or the third time, depending
yes,
on how many kids you
yeah,
have.
yeah,
And
because
you actually you
face got
actually
like
go to,
all those
sorry.
surprises for us. It's
Yeah,
kind of
and you actually go to the musical school the second time or the third time as well, which I did.
thanks goodness.
What about your son? How many languages does he speak? And I'm leading to the next question about multilinguist kids.
Because I mean, like when he was born, the idea was that we do like this OPOL system. So one parent, one language. And then
Mhm.
I was only speaking to him Ukrainian, and Papa was only speaking to him in Italian. And when there were three of us, because still, like the common language was kind of English between us, because me and my husband, we met in London. So then I picked up Italian like later. There was an attempt to pick up some Ukrainian didn't work out like the first the like failed miserably and so there was that but then at some point kind of like I was very organized until like he was 5 and I was like really trying to just but then the only time like once he started with the school and everything you come home to work for dinner so basically the family gets together and somehow it was like the moment so that we just discussed at dinner, whatever, and somehow it was English,
Mhm.
just because Papa doesn't speak Ukrainian.
Mhm.
And it's a shame because somehow, like the moment you kind of show this little weakness, and it is my weakness because I should have insisted, and he still understands it, which I'm happy because maybe one day if he decides that like the concept is there and he knows
Yeah.
that he needs to change and like the conjugation works very differently, plus the cases, and you need to change it. So it's very much there. But yeah, so that's three. Those ones, because we live in Luxembourg, there are three official languages. So it's Luxembourgish, French, and German. And if you go to the local school, basically first 2 years you just speak Luxembourgish because they try to get kids to because you're in local school. It's very funny because there's no kind of written books. It's a kind of spoken language, but yeah, but I think it's an amazing this is the amazing example of how a nation of 600 people can do something like that because it's a very young language as well. It's only became like it was a dialect of German, I guess, because it's
Mhm.
got a lot of French influence, but it's a Germanic language. But they kind of made it into a language and they do everything to support it. And yeah, amazing. I mean, chapeau.
Mhm.
And then there's French and German because the moment you start with a like proper big school, like the primary, it's a full immersion German and all the subjects are like in math and science.
Mhm.
It's German you have like a little bit of French, but then the as you progress through the primary school, the hours of German diminish, and then they increase the hours in French. So
Mhm. Okay, so like then it's balanced out a little bit. So it's
because
like
when you arrive to classic lycée, it's again it's full immersion French. So
okay,
most of the subjects become French and a lot of French writing, and
okay. So now
that's
he basically can speak Ukrainian, Italian, English,
yeah,
Luxembourgish. Did it
yeah,
French and German. So six
yeah,
languages.
yeah.
Do you still keep this concept in the family that among yourselves, like when there are three of you, you speak English, or you can just interchange languages?
No,
More
because
like, somebody says something in Italian, you respond in English, and he says something in Ukrainian. Yeah.
yeah, it's a bit like of this kind of like,
A
mix
mixture.
of every, yeah, because if the grandparents arrive, then it would be a bit more Italian, and which we kind of try to encourage it because,
Mhm.
yeah, because there's like, because in English it's just so easy for everybody. I guess we're just so lazy. It's
Um,
convenient.
did you
Terrible, huh?
have to do anything special to achieve this, or it was just coming out naturally because you were like your kid was in the proper environment where he was meant to become a multilingual person?
I guess I mean, we didn't really try much because we got here, he had like, he was 1.5.
Mm-hmm.
And then he immediately, because there was only French crash available. I mean, there was
Mm-hmm.
like the closest to home. There was no other one. So he ended up in French crash. And then like to start with, like his strongest language was French.
Mm-hmm.
Surprise, surprise.
Did you ever face any troubles with him not wanting to speak or study another language from whatever he was like in at the moment?
No, not really. It was just like very organic.
Okay, okay, cool.
Yeah, it was very fluid because I was kind of making my observations because there was a point when he just started and like he started like sentences, it was late. I mean, it wasn't like, when some of the kids, they kind of like do these poems by
Mhm.
heart and no, none of that. It's like, yes, no. But then there was a moment, it would be like, okay, we had those books and it's like, okay, can you count? And I was like, can you count? And it's like, one, two, three. And then puoi contare in italiano. And I was just experimenting to see what's going to happen. And then like, uno, due, tre. A зараз українською, один, два, три. It was like, I think it must have been like two, it was around like two something, 2.5 probably. But it was amazing. There was this kind of,
An
he,
invisible
he
switch
knew.
between the languages.
Exactly. There was like no problem. Sometimes like there would be a time he would change like he
Where
would
he
use
would
like
be.
a word and it's like
Yeah.
he kind of substitute the English ending and or like the French word like I remember like oh io ho ubbliato e oublie ma ubbliato no dimenticato in Italian I forgot and he would use the French word to say it. But there
Uh-huh.
were very few, like there were very very few instances of those ones. But it was just amazing to observe how human brain is just this amazing I don't know piece of machinery.
Hmm.
The yeah.
With unlimited possibilities. This actually answers the question, which I saw recently in one of the teachers' groups, whether it's too early to, when a teacher was going to start the kindergarten for her kid at the age of 2, and she was worried whether it's too early to start learning, apart from Ukrainian, also English. I responded, obviously not too early. My kids started kindergarten and they had 3 more languages at the same time, English, German, and French, and they were excellent at all of them. It doesn't mean they will speak, like read poems by heart straight away, obviously, but
No,
kids at a young age absorb everything. Even if they don't show progress right now, this will help them even learn the language in the future. So
it's it,
this
I
stays.
think it's also, yeah, it's listening. It's kind of getting used to different frequencies, different intonations, everything. But to just kind of because we had this short stint, we've lived in Vienna, and when my son was 10, I sent him to kindergarten there because I
Uh-huh.
mean, like for the social, and of course, one of like his first word was Wasser. And even when we moved here, when he was asking me for water, it would be like, "Oh, Mama, Wasser." And yeah, and then it like I don't remember when it stopped, but yeah, because there would be, he was 1.5 when we left. So obviously at 1.5, like, yeah, can you pass me this? So there was some interaction between teachers and everything. Like, okay, now we're gonna go out. You get dressed. He would get dressed. So clearly there was an understanding that this is
Of
like
the
completely different language. We don't speak it at home, but it would, there would be like it would get you to act. So there was a communication, even though at that little age. So I don't think.
Yeah. So
the age.
if you have doubts whether when is it early enough or is it, whenever you are doubting if it's too early to teach your kid an extra language, it's not early as long as you have enough strength and patience
Yeah,
to teach them, or if you're giving them away to the kindergarten where you have this extra kind of service, go for it. Obviously, it
yeah,
depends on a child, yeah, and like personal qualities and character. But still, I would still take my kids to the
yeah,
kindergarten. They were quite good. They're quite good at English right now. To my younger one, what really helped perfect her English were the series. She's watched everything possible for her,
yeah.
even older, in English, and she's even teaching me some phrases now. And she's teaching me all this, Generation A or whatever it's called now.
Oh, they're very cool.
I'm
I mean,
telling
they're
you.
like they just pick it up because it's
Yes,
kind of they
yes.
speak their language,
Riz
right?
and well, Riz is the simplest.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. So she's teaching me stuff and it's really, really cool. So don't be afraid to teach your kids an extra language. It's not too
Um,
early. It's good. It's good enough. Okay,
exactly.
moving
I
on to
will
the
make a
next.
code.
Yeah, moving on to the next question. I want to ask you if you ever had troubles when you spoke, or maybe when you tried to understand somebody's English. Maybe you can remember any embarrassing or funny moments.
Oh. I mean,
Well,
I always speak too fast. Like
okay.
my music teacher said, she was saying like you play like you play
Or hour?
you play faster than you think. So I think I speak faster than I think at times because it's just like I don't know, it's just willingness to kind of to deliver too much information or like
Yeah,
being excited about
that's
things, especially when you're excited about some things or like I don't know when there's something really interesting and it's kind of like you're passionate about it. It's just like no
you want to
stopping.
have it all out. Yeah.
Yeah,
In order to
but
be able to do it, you have to know English or another language. Yeah. So you have to be quick
yeah.
and you have to learn fast. I actually, while you're thinking, I remembered you were mentioning your first week in London, and I remember my second day in London, and when I picked up the bloody phone in the corridor, and I took a message for you. And you remember, I know you remember this because I also remember this. It hurts me to laugh now. Leicester Square for you, and for me, Sean. Remember the way I spelled it incorrectly? There was a message from some kind of a Sean, and I
Thank
misspelled
goodness to
it.
me it wasn't Siobhan. Have you
Oh.
seen how you spell Siobhan?
I know. So I spelled the name incorrectly. It's a Scottish name. And I still remember this mistake. I just physically remember, I have this picture of this telephone, of this piece of paper, and this wrongly written word. I crossed it out later, like thinking, oh my goodness, how could I not know? But yeah, we all make mistakes and it's okay to have a laugh after, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But now I think about it because I there's like there's this regional when I was working for bookies. What didn't we do? Like when my student years, I was working for bookies, and it was all happening in North London, where there's like a big West Indies community. So it's like people from Jamaica and St. Lucia, and it's a very particular accent. It's kind of like a singing kind of I don't know like reggae when we talk like you think like the next thing is like Bob Marley is gonna walk through the door because it just like there's like some of them are those Rasta guys but yeah those things like it would be because I guess it is the language of its own just because it's so far from because it was colonized for such a long time but then you it's so far from the kind of your from the mainland like from the uh, place where it all generates so I guess like there was lots of words even sometimes you wouldn't even know what it means even like all this like, conversational stuff but yeah that was interesting because then
Mhm.
again you kind of also get used to it and
Yeah,
pick
yeah.
up
Uh, you
certain
know,
things
yeah, because of
just like after a while it
yeah,
just
yeah.
like time
So
yeah
it's all
time
about
sorts out like many
flexibility.
things
skills. Yeah, it's all about listening skills and us
Yeah,
diving into the environment for some time in order to be able to digest and listen enough of this or
yeah,
another accent to start to comprehend it. It's like you know, because London and England and well, the UK in general are so multicultural now and even 20, 30 years ago, that now they even recognize a different accent. You know, like there is the Queen's or the King's English, the posh,
yeah,
the received pronunciation. There's also this SSBE, the Standard Southern British English, which is like the BBC English or something that we
yeah,
heard in the audio recordings whenever we were
yeah.
practicing. But now there is this MLE accent, which is called the Multicultural London English. MLE. So
I
it's
know. Like,
Jamaican London English, Indian London English, and so on. And
yeah,
yeah, so it's like a combination of English, the local accents, and the accents from other cultures that came and are living at the moment there. So it's also an interesting
yeah,
phenomenon.
because this, apart from those regional accents, then it's like every kind of, I don't know, this is like this Italian accent, there's Spanish English accent. There's so many. I was always thinking, I mean, you, in Ukraine, we don't really have like those rich, I mean, we have like
We
dialect, which
we
is
have
like,
dialects, and we don't have too
but
many. There's like 14 or
overall, I
16
mean,
of them. Yeah, yeah.
overall, and then I don't know, I think it's not as many.
Mm-hmm,
I don't
mm-hmm.
know.
Yeah, yeah.
Next.
Having the knowledge of another language, English in this particular case we're discussing, and in general of another language, where and how can we use it in order to make a living? So, do you think knowing an extra language can earn you more money, can give you a better profession?
Look at me now. I mean, I work for an Italian bank in my
Thank you for
wildest dreams.
coming.
Yeah, I mean, totally random. Like, yeah, but I was looking for a job and there was this job. And I'm like, I was a bit apprehensive because I mean, I never worked in this language. I feel fine. I mean, I can talk about anything. And it's like, I think every next one, you just feel like I don't, when I think about myself, like, oh, you would have to play this scenario like in English. You come to London, and obviously, first, you know, you pick up certain things, and then like you try to incorporate what you already know, and of course, all the sets that you've learned, like you try to use it. But after a while, then it just like you start kind of to offload it and
Mhm.
it becomes more natural.
Yeah.
So the same thing here. It's like, okay, yeah, I don't have a fear. Okay, ask me.
You,
Yeah, I'll
yeah,
try to figure out.
you've had years of practice at home, so it probably was maybe somewhat a little difficult to switch from like the household English, like the
Yeah,
domestic English, oh sorry, the domestic Italian to the business related
yeah,
Italian. Perhaps
kind,
this.
but yeah, but then it's kind of in a way because all the terminology. I mean,
It's
once you know
yeah,
it, you know it,
international.
right?
Yeah.
It's kind of like not rocket science.
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, like, to learn a rocket science, that would be a challenge. But like,
But
yeah, plus,
I'm sure you would cope.
yeah, but plus, but most of the things, like when it comes to all the, it's all of Latin origin, so it's really you make a little twist and you kind of understand
And
it,
you're
and
there. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
you'll figure out. You kind of.
Yeah. What would be your recommendations for those who are facing some difficulties now when they're speaking, presenting, perhaps in English, using English for work, and maybe have doubts about their pronunciation? But in general, I'm talking about English for self-presentation or speaking in public. If you could think of something that worked for you.
I think keeping it simple and like kind of not trying to overcomplicate things because obviously we want to impress. I don't know, you speak publicly, you need to present yourself, but keep it simple. Like keep it simple, and it's important too because I guess this is kind of my personal experience because we will remember all this like English exam and topic this and topic that.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. just try to kind of make a little plan, like, because if you know what you want to say, you will deliver. Because the chances are, if you're just trying to learn it by heart or kind of to memorize it, then
But you don't
you
know your subject,
you
then
you
you
kind of
yeah.
you go astray, and then like you get lost, you get nervous, you panic. A recipe for disaster.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's like simple, kind of short. Try not to, and don't try to use like new words that you don't know, you're not confident enough. Just stick to good old kind of, or I don't know, practice, like memorize something, like make it. Don't use it for the first time. Like
Mm-hmm.
don't
So that
make
it's
something
there in
overly
your
complicated.
yeah, yeah. So
Yeah, it's
your
so then
vocabulary.
there's a flow to it, I guess, kind of.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
I
cool.
would stick to that. I would stick to that.
Yeah, cool. Thank you so much, Lina. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. I've really,
Happy
really
to be
had
here.
a huge pleasure chatting. I loved our conversation, and I really hope you will come back again for more. So,
Sure, never.
ladies and gents, whoever was watching, please leave us a comment how you loved us. I'm sorry.
Love.
And what are the topics you'd like me to cover in the next videos, and also with Lina, because Lina is definitely coming back again. You hear that? So that's a promise. Um,
Hasta la vista, baby.
Tell us in the comments what are the topics you would like us to cover. Maybe something that we could share our own experience as well. Because you see, we are full of languages, so and we love sharing and we love having you here. So hit the follow button, make a comment, and share this video so that more people could also watch it and enjoy it just as much as I did. So thank you, Lina, once again, and thank you
Tanya,
for watching
happy to
us.
be here.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.